Death with Dignity. In 2018, the lives of 609,640 people were claimed by cancer alone. This doesn't include other fatal diagnoses. Hi, I'm Taylor, and I'm here today to persuade you that while physician-assisted suicide is legal in Washington state, it is so expensive that the terminally ill who do qualify can't afford it. Therefore, physician-assisted suicide should be made more affordable in Washington state. I make this claim for 3 reasons. The first reason physician-assisted suicide should be made more affordable in Washington state is because physician-assisted suicide provides a compassionate and painless way for the terminally ill to pass. The second reason physician-assisted suicide should be made more affordable in Washington state is because physician-assisted suicide allows the patient to die with dignity and to avoid unnecessary suffering. The third reason physician-assisted suicide should be made more affordable in Washington state is because once the emotional connection to the word death is disregarded, like any other treatment, physician-assisted suicide is considered just that, a treatment for pain. On to my first point. Physician-assisted suicide provides a compassionate and painless way for the ill to pass. I'd like to bring up our pets into this conversation simply because we don't let our 4-legged loved ones suffer. We provide them with the same love that we do people. We choose not to let our pets suffer. When we see their life coming to an end, and we see that their quality of life is diminishing, oftentimes we make the choice to end the suffering before it goes further. I ask you, why is it that when our loved ones who can vocalize what they want and can speak for themselves, why do we find so much reason to question and disagree with them on that when we will do the exact same things they are asking of us, but we will do this for our pets? Next, I'd like to bring up the testimonial of Brittany Maynard. Brittany Maynard was a 29-year-old woman who had been married for 1 year. She was diagnosed with brain cancer. 9 days after her diagnosis, she went through a partial craniotomy as well as undergoing a partial resection of her temporal lobe. 3 months later, she learned the cancer was back and was more aggressive than before. Statistically speaking, in regards to physician-assisted suicide, 57% of Washington's population votes pro-physician-assisted suicide. Again, I'd like to bring up the article that Brittany Maynard wrote that was published by CNN. In this article, Maynard makes a statement saying, "I've had the medication for weeks. I'm not suicidal. If I were, I would have consumed it long ago. I don't want to die, but I am dying. And I want to die on my terms." I ask you to contemplate for a moment that phrase. On to my second point. Physician-assisted suicide allows the patient to die with dignity and on their own terms, and to avoid suffering. I'd like to tell you the story about my grandmother. In January of 2019, she was diagnosed with stage 5 lung cancer. Shortly after, she passed. She understood what her circumstances were. She qualified for physician-assisted suicide, but opted not to undergo physician-assisted suicide simply because it was so expensive. While she could afford it, she knew that this expense she would be facing currently, which would have ended her suffering and stopped her from almost 2 months of living in hospital and coming home only a shell of herself before she died. The point being, she opted not to do this because the financial strain would have passed on to her family. So she endured the suffering. On to my third point. Once the emotional connection to the word death is disregarded, physician-assisted suicide is considered a treatment for pain. Speaking logically, obviously the goal for any physician is to treat the illness. A diagnosis of a terminal disease or sickness becomes a death penalty. It's a ticking time clock that is going down, and less time becomes available. Physician-assisted suicide simply provides the means to an end without unnecessary pain and without suffering. A person has the ability to pass away while still being themselves. Many disagree with physician-assisted suicide because it results in the death of the patient. According to the University of Wisconsin system, workers' compensation, treatment means the management and care of a patient to combat disease or disorder. People have the right to their own beliefs, but death is the end point for all of us. We will all pass at some point. Physician-assisted suicide simply allows the terminally ill, who will undergo weeks of suffering due to their illness, it simply allows them to die without that unnecessary suffering and the time that they will spend losing themselves. To recap, I was here today to persuade you that physician-assisted suicide should be made more affordable in Washington State for 3 reasons. The first reason being physician-assisted suicide provides a compassionate and painless way for the ill to pass. The second reason being physician-assisted suicide allows the patient to end life on their terms, to die with dignity, and to avoid unnecessary suffering. The third reason being once the emotional connection to the word death is disregarded, like any other treatment, physician-assisted suicide is considered a treatment for pain. Before I leave you today, I ask that if you have a friend or family member in this position, consider what I've said today. Don't try to change their mind. Stand by them and support them. And with that, I thank you.